Hello, everyone. You are listening to Your Palm Beach Guide with the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. My name is Kiana Rivera, and I'm the Vice President of Programming and Membership at the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. And today, our special guest is Lyman Phillips. Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so glad to have you on today. And I'm glad we were able to work out our schedules to do gardens meetings today. So I'm just pumped to have you. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, of course. And I know you're the pro here with all the podcasts for the chamber. And
I wish
you guys and the whole team do so much. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad people listen to this. Sometimes I think I'm just talking to nobody, but who knows? So you guys know the drill. We're going to go through his bio really quick, and then we will jump right into some conversations. So Lyman Phillips is the founder and CEO of Golden Lion Capital Investments, which is a commercial real estate advisory and investment firm based in Palm Beach. With a foundational background in the hospitality and commercial real estate industries, Lyman is responsible for developing and implementing the company's overall strategic initiatives and plays the primary role in the company's investment and activities, which include real estate and early stage startups. Lyman is currently on the committee for the Palm Beach Young Professionals, shout out us, is the co-chair for the 2025 Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Visionary of the Year campaign, and is the co-chair for the UMass HTM 50th Career Day Anniversary campaign. Lyman visualizes the big picture and abstract concepts through the industry to find value in any situation. He is well connected and culturally perceptive, which combined with his geographical knowledge gives him an unparalleled awareness of major U.S. markets. Under his leadership, Golden Lion Capital has brokered and closed over $300 million in transactions since its inception, with many more deals in the works. And Lyman believes in giving back to the communities he serves through fundraising and dedicating time assisting those in need. Lyman and his fundraising team recently raised $120,000 during a 10-week campaign for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, as well as donating over $30,000 to Clean Miami Beach, which helps preserve the beautiful beaches in Miami. Lyman also is in the process of creating the Golden Lion Capital Endowment Fund at the University of Massachusetts Amherst for the Hospitality and Tourism Department. Holy cow, Lyman! Congrats on all of these things.
Thank you. You know, it's honestly so great to just be involved in so many different things, especially with the community here in Palm Beach, and then everything up there in Massachusetts. So
oh my goodness. So tell me, why Massachusetts? You have roots there?
So I'm originally from Massachusetts. I grew up there my whole life. In Natick, Mass, 20 minutes west of Boston.
Nice.
Went to UMass Amherst. I was so fully involved with the hospitality and tourism program there.
Oh my goodness.
And I met amazing students that were part of my class, a little bit younger, a little bit older, and was able to be fully immersed in the country club industry. And that's kind of what brought me down here in the first place. I had a job lined up at Addison Reserve Country Club.
No way.
Worked for them for about a year and then eventually transitioned fully into the commercial real estate space. And, you know, it's obviously been a blessing ever since.
Holy cow. So you went from Massachusetts to here, and is the club space kind of similar from Massachusetts and Palm Beach?
Palm Beach, you know, the reason that drew me down here was actually my mentor is still the GM for the club at Mirasol. He was a UMass alum. And so being able to come down here, he said, come down your senior winter break and check it out. And I said, you know what? It's the major leagues down here. And Palm Beach County and South Florida in general is one of the top country club capitals of the world. Wow. And so that's what brought me down here.
And so with the hospitality experience, you then, and then truthfully, so you moved down here in the hospitality scene, and then what started Golden Lion?
So during the time frame that I was at Addison, one of the members had come up and, you know, we were pretty close. And he said, you know what, if you want to do commercial, just jump right in, go to the brokerage side first, and then figure out the investments later. So I said, okay, great, let's do that. So I got my license, went through the whole process, started working for a boutique brokerage firm down here, writing commercial, looking at Wendy's, Chick-fil-A's, all these different type of smaller retail deals. And I said, you know what, I can do this. Let's make that transition. So then in 2018 is when I officially started Golden Lion. And 2020 is when we started to really kind of take off. And so since then, you know, we've brought on, you know, 6 new people.
Oh yeah, you have a great team.
Yeah, we have a nice team. It's a solid team. You know, I don't like to have 100 people doing, you know, half the amount of work. I'd rather have 10 people doing, you know, high octane work. And so that's kind of what the focus has been.
And this is it's not super random, but tell me about the name and your logo. What's the story meaning behind that?
So the name, Golden Lion, the whole, essence that I wanted to bring to it was the fact that when a lion's in the jungle, right, they're seen as, obviously the king of the jungle and all of that, but there's more to it. I think when you see the mentality of a lion, that's what really showcases, why they're the king. An elephant's a lot bigger, but they're scared of the lion.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, when you look at just the mentality aspect, I've always been a mentality person where it's, how do you go out and be the best? For example, what they say with a lion, when's the best time for them to go hunting?
Gosh, early or late? I don't know. Tell me.
It's when they're full, because they know once they have their meal, they have to go out and get the next one.
And two, they'll be passed out.
Exactly.
Like
So, I think part of that comes down to, just the logo itself. And then you look at the logo, and the logo is, your gold and blacks and everything else, but in essence, it gives the Palm Beach essence.
Yeah.
And I had a whole team of designers from all over kind of competing to figure out how to make the logo. And at the end, it came down to two different designers that had kind of the same logo that I wanted. So I just told them to combine it together, and that's where the logo came from today.
Oh, I love it. And I love too that you made it competitive with the team. It's sometimes people are just take it easy with their logo, but this has just become such a significant, staple in Palm Beach. I think like you've really built not only your reputation, but your business. Like you said, 300 million, that's insane. Like, congratulations.
Thank you. It was a team effort.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know. Amazing team effort.
But with your leadership, though, you inspire. I love, too, like, fairly all of your team is pretty young, like young professionals. And they just are constantly hustling, and you inspire them to be, like you said, a smaller team with a high value work.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that leadership that you have. So I just want to
brag
on you a bit. That's awesome. That's amazing. And then tell me a little bit about just Leukemia Lymphoma Society.
Yep.
So you're a part of this, and I saw your campaign last year, and amazing. So walk me through it. What got you involved in that?
So in fact, my father-in-law actually was diagnosed with leukemia 2 weeks before Jonathan Dewar nominated me to be a candidate. And then one of my favorite professors, or my favorite professor from UMass, was going through and battling lymphoma. And so he was leukemia. And so he was going through, all the treatments and whatnot. And so I said, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity for me to go out, build a team to make this happen. Yeah. And, I thought it'd be a great experience. It was my first fully on the fundraising docket. And so being able to go out and do it for them, and then do it for just everyone else who gets affected by blood cancers in general was awesome. And, Jonathan Dewar, he's
amazing.
He took me under his wing when I first got here. And so I kind of see him as like that, mentor to me. So I said, of course I'll do it. And why not? I'm in. So
good.
Doing that 10-week campaign and being able to raise that much.
It's crazy too that it is 10 weeks. Like people don't think about it just for that much of a commitment that you have to then set aside from your actual business. Yep. And I love that you did that.
Yep. And it was so worth it. The people I met, the networking of the ability of saying, hey, look, your uncle was affected, or someone hosts a golf tournament for, I had no idea. And so being able to do that was, really eye-opening.
Oh, that's so good. And then tell me just a little bit, as you're working, we'll pivot again to your listing here that says, big picture and abstract concepts. Oh my goodness. And when it comes to how you apply those business practices to then ultimately get those sales, walk me through that process. Is it when you get new clients, is it referral based? Is it you going out there and pitching, or walk us through that process?
Sure. So, initially it started off with a ton of different cold calls, building a relationship at the beginning. And now what we've evolved to is we don't need to work with 200 clients. We can work with each of our 30 clients on the team, and everyone has their kind of 30 that they talk to. And that's all we need, because at the end of the day, we're looking to be an extension of their acquisition arm in a sense.
Okay.
We'll find the deals because we know exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
So now it's mostly just warm leads. We'll get referrals in from other brokers and from even some other investors who say, look, I know you guys focus in this space. I have a friend of mine. He's got, 50 million. He wants to spend it.
Right. how
can we do it? And so I think now at the point that we've gotten to is we've always had the stance of we're in it for the long term. When we build relationships, it's not just for the one deal and that's it.
Right.
In real estate and commercial real estate, especially, it's a long, process for most of the deals.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that I've always found is they don't care about, a lot of these people come from all different backgrounds, all across the world. And if you can relate to them and be able to build a relationship with them, the deals will happen naturally. And so that's kind of how we've taken the approach. So we've had deals that, have taken 3 years to close. We've had deals that's taken 17 days. Yeah. So it's just kind of a balance, but now we don't really do any much, cold outreach.
Well, I love the fact, what you just said, that it didn't matter about the amount of time that you spent with that client, that it could take 3 years, it could take 17 days. And I say this to our new members at the chamber, that every time they are, especially because they're new. I mean, we were all new to the chamber at one point, and it's overwhelming sometimes going to events that you are not familiar with, or maybe you're brand new to the market and you're just like, tell me about Palm Beach. I don't understand. Is West Palm Beach Island? Is Palm Beach Island West Palm? And all of these questions, right? And I always say to them at member orientation, I say, get to know the person behind the business first. Always get to know, like, why are you even in this field? What made you just invest all of your time into this type of work? And then you, as you said, like, the results naturally come. And I wish that people took that approach more, because sometimes I've noticed that people either are here for the short term and it's just Palm Beach is really popular right now. I just want to be a part of the trend. I just need to do this, X, Y, Z. Why haven't I seen a return in the 30 days I've been here? And you're like, it's been 30 days,
it's been 30
sweetie.
days, exactly. Well, one of the things that I like to always emphasize, and networking has always been something that I've always made my vocal point. So whether it's charity events, whether it's, networking events for businesses, whether it's just socially, being able to understand and be able to have people skills and understand, have effective listening, and all these different things play a role. But the biggest thing that I always say when you go to a networking event is you're going there, you're not even talking about your business or talking about what you do, unless if for some reason, if they ask, then great.
Right.
But my focus is to go there, build the relationships, and if something comes out of it, if a business comes out of it down the road, it's an added bonus. It's not meant to be the vocal point of any of the networking events.
Right.
And so when you go into with that approach, you're not being salesy. You're not coming off as, there's a hidden agenda. Oh my gosh, it's just, let's chat, let's have fun. And if there's people that you don't, truly vibe with, are you going to do business with them? I mean, maybe not. Right. So, that's kind of how I take it. And I think it's really translated well. There's amazing people in the chamber and a diverse group of people in the chamber from all different industries, which I like. And I think Palm Beach is a small enough community where you still get to meet, you see the same people every day, but it's just big enough where you always are bumping into new people, like at the chamber breakfast, at the young professionals, whatever it is. So
no, I love that. Well, real quick, you're listening to Your Palm Beach Guide with the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. Our special guest today is Lyman Phillips with Golden Lion Capital Investments. And I want to transition really quick, just in our last couple minutes here. What you mentioned that your mentor was from Massachusetts, UMass, right? And what is just some of those nuggets of advice that they've passed down to you that it seems like he's still an active member, he or she, sorry, they're still an active member of your life. What does that look like? What does that relationship look like?
So, we touch base every once in a while. I think right now, the biggest things that he made when I was in college, the biggest points he always made was, broaden your horizons, take a chance in your 20s or when you graduate. And the biggest life hack is to just move 5 states away or more and just make the leap.
Wow.
And, I really embraced that. When I moved to Florida 2 weeks after college, after I graduated, I moved to Florida in 2016, packed my bags and didn't know a single person except for him, and was able to just kind of build the network on your own. And I think it teaches you a lot about, one, how do you handle, your emotions all by yourself?
Right.
You're away from your hometown friends. You don't have, your family maybe all that close. So being able to learn on, kind of as you go in a completely different environment, I think is really something that people should do if they have the opportunity to do so.
Wow. And then I can't believe 2 weeks after you graduated, you just up and left.
Yep. Packed my bags, packed my
said,
Prius and drove all the way down. Oh yeah. It's so funny. I talk about this, but I drove from Maine, stopped in New York, stopped in Myrtle Beach, and then finally made it down here. And I drove one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And as we came down here, that whole trip was like $62 in gas.
No way.
Because it's a Prius. So I was just hitting the highway. I just thought it was so funny. I'm like, unbelievable.
Oh, I love that. That's really funny that you mentioned that. I love too. I think that's great advice, and that you guys are still in touch and you check in on the like really life, really big life moments. And tell me a little bit, just because we'll transition now to your volunteerism, not only with the young professionals, but also with Clean Miami Beach and other, and leukemia. We touched on leukemia a little bit, but you are so philanthropic. And why do you have that passion? Is it just always been inside? What does that look like?
So for me, a little background on my story is I grew up in the jungles of India. I was born in the jungles of India.
Okay.
And then I was adopted when I was 3. So I was in an orphanage for about 3 years. And we're on the outskirts of town in this really small town in East India. And when I was adopted, it really kind of gave me, not at the time, but now it really kind of gave me that, wow, like I can't believe it happened. Yeah. And so I see that as like a lottery ticket. And the reason why I say a lottery ticket, and I'll be really quick, I promise.
Yeah, no, we got time.
Okay, perfect. So in 2020, 2019 or whatever, I just spent like 5 or 6 hours just really digging into the stats of what are the chances someone from India, a child, would get adopted by an American family. And so I ran the numbers, had all these spreadsheets that I was building out and everything, and looked at all this different data. And finally I came down to a number, and it came down to 0.00001% chance that an Indian child would be adopted by an American parent. And so I took that same odds and I said, okay, what's the Powerball odds this year?
Oh my goodness.
In Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And it was the same. It was pretty much similar odds. And so I said, you know what? I see it as a lottery ticket. So it's my goal here is to obviously, you have the business, all these different people within the community has helped my business grow. So it only makes sense to give that back. And whether that's spending time, whether that's creating a group and raising all those funds, whatever it is, it's just a way for me to say, hey, thank you so much for everything that you do. And then eventually the goal is we're in the kind of behind the scenes process right now of trying to.
For the, where is it? You're opening up like a fund, right? Of an endowment or
endowment fund at UMass. So to give back to the UMass HTM program and some of the students. And, it's not a huge scholarship number, but each year, it gives to one student and things like that. So we're excited about that. And then we're also in the process right now, really like behind the scenes of working with a group in California that builds these orphanages. And these orphanages, it's like for $50,000, you can build an orphanage that has 50 students or 50 kids, and it has a nurse on staff, it has a teacher on staff, and it has I think one other just chaperone on staff. And that alone in India is what the cost is. So I'm like, you know what? That's something that we eventually want to get into. Yeah. We'll probably do that over the next couple of years, but that is the next step.
Oh my gosh. So I had no idea.
And that's really going to hit home, obviously, from the orphanage aspect.
Right.
So.
Have you been back to India at all, or?
Not been back. I was supposed to go back in 2020, I think. And then of course, all that
Nobody
happened,
went anywhere.
Nobody went anywhere. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Wow. Well, I love that you have that heart. I didn't know that story. So thank you for sharing that. And I think you set such a good example for others in this community to just be real and authentic. And I'll just mention, briefly at our breakfast yesterday, Matt Swift, who runs Concordia, he mentioned that of being different leaders in this community to really change the culture here and to be kinder to each other and lead just with conviction and also to be innovative. And I think you exemplify all of those things. And just to see you and I feel like I've known you now for, I think 6 years. 6 or 7 years. And I feel I'm just on the outskirts, just watching everything. And it's really nice to see just how you have stayed consistent in who you are the 7 years that I've known you. And that's really hard to do. And I think you've done a great job.
Thank you so much. Wow. Truly appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, please tell people how they can learn more about your business, how they can follow you on social media, all the things, all the events you're going to, in a summary.
Sure. So we're on Instagram. We're not on TikTok yet. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? I'll have to hire someone here to handle that because I can't do that. But we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Good. LinkedIn is where we do a lot of our, presenting and whatnot. And then obviously our website, www.glcapinvestments.com. We'll have all the information there just regarding sort of all the different arms of the company that we have. We have a brokerage arm. We have a national brokerage arm. We have a 1031 exchange arm. And then we also have an investment arm.
Oh, great. Okay.
Kind of do 3 different things. So
all under one umbrella. I like it.
All under one umbrella. Mm-hmm.
Good. So, well, Lyman, thank you so much for joining us. And you'll see Lyman at our events. Just please follow him, visit his website. He's always open to talking to you and to listen, and just a great guy to know. So take the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.